Another way of positioning our content on a page is the float property. Float allows us to position our element side by side. It actually removes the element from the normal flow of the page and position it to the left or right side of the parent element. So for example, here on this document right now we have one article tag, and inside this article we have one image and a heading and few paragraphs. And inside the CSS we have normal styles. First we have CSS resets, and from here our custom styles starts, and rest of these are just a normal style, nothing fancy here. Say now if we want to position this image to the left side of the container, and rest of this heading as well as paragraph should flow around it, something like this. So we have image on the left and rest of the content is flowing around it. So for that purpose we can make use of float property, and float property comes with three different values. One is left, which position the element to the left of the parent container. Another is right, which position the element to the right of the parent element, and at the end we have none, which is the default value that has no effect on the element. So now let's experiment all these values one by one. So for the image, let's say float left, save the file, and let's check out the result here. As we can see here that image is on the left side and rest of the content is floating around it. Similarly, we can also send this image to the right side of the container and rest of the content will flow around it. So for right side we can say right value, save the file, and check out the result here. Now again we can see that image is on the right side and rest of the content is flowing around it. And at the end we have none value, which has no effect on the elements. Let's check out result. Nothing is happening. That's the default value. So now let's say float left. Great. Now we have our page similar to this. Float was actually introduced for this purpose only. Whenever we needed any element to the left side or the right side of the container and rest of the content is flowing around it, then we are supposed to use float elements. As time passed, the float property became more versatile. Developers started using float in a more complex way. They started creating multi-column layouts using floats. So therefore we will also learn how to create multiple column layouts using floats. Although nowadays we have some other specifications also like Flexbox, CSS Grid, which have been introduced recently. These new specifications have almost replaced the float based layouts. In modern websites we may not find the use of float property, but still we will cover the float property because this is the foundation that has been used in the majority of the websites. So let's understand how actually we use floats. Let's get rid of this article from here. Then let's have two box, say class box here, then another div with the same class. Now here let's write left and inside this right. Alright, now let's style our box first. So let's target box class, then inside the curly braces let's say padding maybe 80 px, and then background color say. Alright, now we have styled our box. So let's check out our page here. Alright, we have two box. These two box are a block level element, that's why it is covering whole available width. Now if we want the left box should be on the left side and right box should be on the right side of the container, so for that purpose we can make use of float. So first of all let's give each div another one class, say left then right. So for the left class we will float left, and for the right class we will say float right. Save the file and check out our result here. Alright, now we have our left box on the left side and right box on the right side. This is how actually we use floats. Whenever we need any element to the left side or right side, we can make the element float left or right. Let's see what is actually happening. What floats actually does, the very first thing, it removes the element from the normal flow of the page. That's why we see these boxes are on the left and right side. And at the same time, it alters the default display property also. A block level element may start taking the space according to the content it wraps, as exactly here. The left and right box by default is a block level element, but they are coming on the same line. That means the float changes the display property also. And at the same time, an inline level element may start accepting the height and width if floated. So let's experiment that part. So let's replace this div into span. Now save the file and let's check out our result here. No changes, but now let's define width to the box. Let's say width maybe 500 px. Now if we save the file and check out our page here, we can see that both of these boxes accepted some width that we have applied in our CSS here. But if you see our code in HTML here, the box class is on span now, and span is an inline level element, so it should not have accepted height and width. But as soon as we float an inline level element, they started accepting height and width. So again, let's get back into normal. Let's make our span to div. It does not make any difference, but yeah, we will stick to the div only. Alright, this is how actually float works. It removes the element from the normal flow and position it side by side, either left side of the parent element or right side of the parent element.